I found the hidden room in my old house on a night when the power went out without warning. The first thing you need to know is this. The name carved on the wall inside that room was mine. If you are listening to this right now, do not skip ahead. What happened after that discovery changed everything. My name is Daniel Carter. I grew up in a quiet American town where nothing ever felt dangerous. The house belonged to my grandparents, built sometime in the 1950s. After they passed away, the place stayed locked and untouched for years. I came back only to sell it. That night, the wind howled through the empty halls, and the house made sounds that old houses always make. Wooden cracks, soft thuds, long sighs. I was packing the last boxes when the lights died. In the darkness, I heard something else. A slow tapping sound. It was not coming from the windows or the roof. It was coming from inside the walls. Using my phone's flashlight, I followed the sound into the basement. The tapping stopped the moment I reached the bottom step. That silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then I noticed the wall. A section of bricks looked newer than the rest. Cleaner, less dusty. My heartbeat slowed, then raced. When I pressed my palm against it, cold air breathed back at me. I pushed. The wall moved. Behind it was a narrow door, sealed without a handle. If you are still listening, remember this moment. This is where I should have walked away. I forced the door open. Inside was a room no bigger than a closet. No windows. No furniture. Just symbols carved into the walls. And one name. Daniel Carter. Fresh. Deep. As if it had been written recently. The tapping returned, louder now. This time, it was behind me. I spun around, expecting to see someone standing in the basement. There was no one. The hidden door slammed shut on its own, plunging the room into darkness. My phone light flickered, then stabilized. The air felt heavier, like the room was breathing. I tried the door. It would not move. Then I heard a whisper. Not words. Just my name, stretched and distorted, spoken from all directions at once. Daniel. If you are still listening to this story, stay with me. The next part is where things stopped making sense. The walls began to change. The symbols I had seen before started shifting, slowly rearranging themselves. They were dates, names, addresses, all scratched deeply into the concrete. They were all connected to this house. Every name belonged to someone who had lived here. Every date was a date of death. My phone buzzed. A notification appeared on the screen, even though there was no signal in the basement. It was a calendar alert. Tomorrow, with my name written beneath it. The whisper grew louder. The tapping returned, now rhythmic, like a heartbeat. I backed into the center of the room, my breath shallow and fast. Then I noticed something else. There were scratches on the floor, drag marks, leading toward the wall behind me. I turned slowly. A second door had appeared. This one was already open. Darkness spilled out like liquid. From inside that darkness, something moved. A hand emerged first. It looked human, but wrong. The fingers were too long, the joints bent in impossible ways. The skin was pale and stretched tight, like it did not belong to the bone beneath it. I stumbled backward and fell. The whisper stopped. Silence filled the room for 2 full seconds. Then the thing stepped forward. It looked like me. Same height, same face, same scar above the eyebrow that I got when I was 12. But its eyes were empty, like dark holes drilled into a mask. If you have made it this far, do not stop now. What it said next still echoes in my head. You took my place, it said. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The copy of me smiled, stretching its mouth wider than any human should. It pointed at the names on the wall. They all did. It continued. They found the room. They left. I stayed. The floor shook. The dates on the wall began bleeding through the concrete, glowing faintly. The door behind the thing started closing. Slowly, I realized then what the room was. It was not hidden. It was waiting. The copy reached for me, and the lights in the house came back on upstairs. The door behind me finally opened. I had 1 second to choose, and whatever choice I made would decide who left that house alive. If you think you know what happens next, listen carefully. Because this is only the beginning. I didn't think. I ran through the door as fast as I could, back into the basement's main area. My phone light danced across the old boxes, cobwebs, and peeling wallpaper. Every sound was amplified. The dripping water, my own ragged breaths, the creak of the stairs above. The thing didn't follow immediately. I thought maybe I had outrun it. I thought wrong. A soft scraping came from the wall where the hidden room had been. The bricks shifted slightly. It was like the house itself was mocking me. I reached the stairs and climbed to the first floor, my legs trembling. The living room looked normal, untouched by whatever had been below. I tried the front door. Locked. Deadbolt intact. Exactly how I remembered leaving it. My phone had no signal. No calls, no messages. Nothing. Then I heard it. A whisper, low and jagged, coming from behind me. Daniel. I spun. Empty hallway. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. My heart pounded so loud I was sure it could be heard upstairs. The house groaned again. Floorboards shifted. I realized the whisper wasn't coming from one spot. It was everywhere, echoing from the walls, from the ceiling, from beneath my feet. Panic surged. I ran to the stairs leading to the second floor, the same steps that used to creak under my grandmother's weight. Now, every step felt like it might give way, might trap me in this nightmare forever. I reached my old bedroom. Nothing. My childhood posters, now yellowed, stared blankly at me. I slammed the door behind me and pressed my back to it, trying to catch my breath. Then I noticed something that froze me solid. My name, written on the inside of the closet door. Fresh, in jagged letters. Daniel Carter. Not carved. Written, dripping, black, shiny, alive. I backed away slowly. The whispers grew louder, almost urgent now. The house was alive, breathing, watching. The closet door started to open on its own. Slowly. And I knew. If I didn't go in, it would come out. The next choice I made would decide if I survived the night. Because there was no running from this room, no leaving this house. Not anymore. The closet door creaked open, wider and wider, as if the darkness inside were expanding. My chest tightened. I could feel the air from that space, cold, damp, suffocating, sliding out like fingers curling around my throat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But my legs refused to move. I was frozen. Then I saw it. Inside, the walls were covered in mirrors. Broken mirrors, shattered at odd angles, reflecting light in a way that made it impossible to tell where one surface ended and another began. And in each shard my face. Not me. The copy. The one from the hidden room. It stared back at me from every angle, its hollow eyes following my every tremble. A whisper slithered through the room. Come closer. It's your turn. I stumbled backward, hitting the closet wall. The shards reflected my terrified face, multiplied 100 times over. And suddenly, one mirror separated from the wall. It hovered, spinning slowly, and I saw not just the reflection of my copy, but shadows of people I didn't recognize, faces twisted in fear, trapped forever inside those mirrors. The tapping returned. Fast, insistent, like a heartbeat from somewhere behind the glass. I realized then that every person whose name had been carved in that hidden room now existed here, behind the mirrors. Staring. Waiting. A cold hand touched my shoulder. I spun. No one was there. The mirror trembled. A voice emerged, not from the room, but from the glass itself. You belong to us now, Daniel. I stumbled out of the closet and slammed it shut, but the mirror's reflections bled through the wood, faintly glowing in the dim room. I could still hear the whispers, growing louder, demanding, calling my name over and over. The room around me started to shift. The walls stretched, the ceiling bent, the floor rippled as if it were liquid. I realized the house was no longer just a building. It was alive. A trap designed to capture anyone who dared enter the hidden room. I had to find a way out, but every door led me back to that basement. Every stair descended toward the waiting darkness. The whisper became a scream. Daniel, don't fight it. And I understood. The hidden room wasn't finished with me. It never would be. I ran. Not toward the stairs. Not toward the basement. I ran down the hallway, past rooms that no longer felt familiar. The house stretched unnaturally, each step heavier than the last, like the floor was trying to pull me back. The whispers followed. Not behind me. Inside my head. Every memory I had of this house started flooding back at once. Birthdays. Laughter. My grandmother calling my name for dinner. But the memories were wrong now. Twisted. Faces blurred. Smiles frozen too long. I reached the kitchen and stopped cold. The lights were on. They hadn't been on since the power outage. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. On the kitchen table sat a single chair, pulled out as if someone had just stood up. And across from it, another chair. Occupied. He sat there calmly, hands folded, wearing my clothes. The copy looked up slowly and smiled. You always run, he said. They all did. I backed away, knocking over a chair. The sound echoed too loudly, vibrating through the walls. The copy stood up, but he didn't walk toward me. He didn't need to. The house moved instead. Doors slammed shut. Cabinets rattled open and closed. The walls began to pulse, faint lines appearing beneath the paint, like veins pushing outward. You think the room is the prison. The copy continued, his voice steady. But the house remembers everyone who belongs to it. The floor beneath me cracked. Not breaking, opening. I fell through. The air rushed out of my lungs as I hit the ground hard. I was back in the basement, but it was different now. Larger. Endless. The walls were covered floor to ceiling with names. Hundreds of them. All carved. All familiar. Friends. Neighbors. Strangers from my childhood. And at the center of the room stood the hidden door. Wide open. The tapping returned, slower now. Patient. I tried to stand, but my legs shook violently. The copy's voice echoed from everywhere at once. You can leave, it said. But someone has to stay. The hidden room breathed in. The door began to close. I realized the truth then. This house did not kill people. It replaced them. And it was time to choose who would be remembered and who would be trapped forever. The door stopped moving, waiting for me. I stared at the hidden door, my chest heaving. The tapping had slowed to a deliberate rhythm, like a countdown. I knew I had to make a choice, step through the door and risk what waited inside, or stay and face the copy that had taken my place. The air felt heavier, like it was pushing against me, urging me forward. I could hear whispers weaving together into words, warning me, mocking me, calling my name endlessly. I took a step. The floor shifted beneath me. I stumbled, nearly falling into one of the deep cracks that now ran through the basement floor. Shadows flickered across the walls, dancing unnaturally, forming shapes that looked like people who had been trapped here before me. Their faces twisted in silent screams. The copy's voice echoed again, calm but terrifying. Daniel, you can leave, but someone has to stay. Who will it be? I backed away from the door, trying to collect my thoughts. There had to be a way out. There had to be. Suddenly, a sound from behind, a scraping, dragging noise, made me freeze. I turned. The mirrors from the closet had multiplied. Shattered fragments floated in the air now, reflecting glimpses of people who had entered this house long before me. They raised their hands, silent, begging, warning. Their eyes seemed alive, burning into mine. I realized something chilling. The house didn't just remember people. It claimed them. Once you saw the room, once you entered, your fate was intertwined with it forever. I knew the copy wasn't the real threat. The house was, and the hidden room was just the beginning. I glanced at the door again. The darkness inside it wasn't empty. It pulsed, alive, waiting for me. Every fiber of my body screamed to turn back, but I also knew. Hesitation meant being trapped forever. The tapping grew faster. The walls vibrated slightly, like the house itself was impatient. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the door. My hand touched the cold handle, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then, the whispering came back, but louder, urgent, almost pleading. Daniel, don't let it take you. I paused. The hidden room was no longer just behind that door. It was everywhere. The walls, the floor, the air around me. It was alive, and it had already started choosing. I had to decide. Step through, or stay. Either choice would change everything. And there was no going back. The moment I crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind me. Silence. Not the kind that follows a loud noise, but the kind that feels deliberate. Heavy. Complete. The hidden room was larger than before. Much larger. The walls stretched outward, vanishing into darkness. The floor felt warm beneath my feet, almost alive. Each step I took sent a faint ripple through the surface, like walking on skin. If you are still here, do not blink. Because the room started showing me things. The walls lit up, not with light, but with memories. Scenes from my life played across the concrete. My childhood. My first injury. Moments I had forgotten entirely. Then the scenes changed. I saw my grandparents. They were standing in this very room. Younger. Terrified. My grandfather was pounding on the wall, screaming my grandmother's name. She was crying, clawing at the door. And then, I saw myself. A younger version of me. Standing in the doorway. Watching. I staggered back, my mind screaming in denial. That was impossible. I had never been here before. I would remember this. The room disagreed. The scene shifted again. Names appeared on the wall, carving themselves in real time. Faces followed. Each person stared directly at me, their mouths opening, but no sound coming out. Until one voice broke through. Not the copy. Not the house. Mine. You promised you would come back. The floor split open, revealing a deep pit beneath me. Inside it were bodies. Not decayed. Preserved. Frozen in fear. Every face looked familiar. Every face shared my eyes. I understood then. The house did not replace people randomly. It replaced them with me. Or versions of me. I was not the first. I was the pattern. The room began closing in, the walls moving slowly, breathing closer with each second. The memories faded, replaced by darkness. One final message carved itself into the wall in front of me. Welcome home, Daniel. The tapping returned. But this time, it was coming from inside my chest that I dropped to my knees, clutching my chest. The tapping was no longer a sound. It was a feeling. Each pulse matched my heartbeat perfectly, as if the room had synchronized itself with me. With every beat, the floor beneath me rose and fell slightly, breathing with me. I tried to stand, but the room reacted immediately. The walls pulsed faster, the names on them glowing faintly, warming the air. I realized then that resistance only fed it. So I stayed still. The memories returned, sharper this time. Not just images, but emotions. Fear that was not mine. Regret that burned like acid. Desperation soaked into the walls from years of people begging for release. I heard footsteps. Slow. Measured. The copy stepped out of the darkness. But it looked different now. Older. Worn. Its face cracked like porcelain, pieces barely holding together. You feel it now, it said softly. That's how it begins. I demanded answers. I needed to know why me. Why this house? Why this room? The copy crouched in front of me, meeting my eyes. The house doesn't choose people, it said. It grows them. The floor opened again, revealing layers beneath the basement. Not rooms, but chambers. Each one holding a version of me at different ages. Some were screaming. Some were silent. Some were smiling. They tried to escape. The copy continued. Each one made a different choice. Each one failed. I felt something shift inside me. A strange calm replaced the panic. Understanding settled in, cold and heavy. This was not a haunting. It was a cycle. The house needed a constant. A familiar shape. A presence that could blend into the world above without suspicion. A caretaker. The copy stood and stepped back into the shadows. When the door opens, it said, only one of us walks out. The walls began to retract. The floor solidified. The hidden door appeared again, slowly opening, revealing the basement beyond. Light spilled in. Freedom. My heartbeat slowed. I stood up. And for the first time, I wondered, which one of us deserved to leave? The light spilling through the open door felt wrong. Too clean. Too normal. I stepped closer, every instinct screaming that this was not freedom, but another test. The basement beyond the door looked exactly as it had before. Same shelves. Same boxes. Same stains on the concrete floor. But something was missing. The sound. No tapping. No whispers. Silence. I crossed the threshold. The moment my foot touched the basement floor, a sharp pain shot through my head. Images flooded my vision, fast and violent. A man standing where I was now. Older than me. Thinner. His face worn down by years of fear. He was packing boxes. He was preparing to leave. I realized with horror that I was watching someone else's escape. The memory shifted. The man reached the front door of the house. His hand shook as he grabbed the knob. He smiled, tears running down his face. The door opened. And then, the scene froze. The man turned slowly, as if he could see me watching him through time. His smile vanished. You think I made it out, he said. The memory shattered. I was back in the basement. Alone. The hidden door behind me slammed shut with finality. The tapping returned, distant but steady. Footsteps echoed on the stairs. Someone was coming down. I backed into the shadows just as the light flicked on. A man descended the steps cautiously. He stopped when he saw me. His eyes widened in recognition. Because he was wearing my jacket. My watch. My face stared back at me, but older. Hardened. You're late, he said quietly. I demanded to know who he was. He laughed bitterly. I'm the one who left, he replied. Or at least, that's what I thought. He explained everything in fragments. The house allowed one person to leave every cycle, but it never let them go completely. A part of them always stayed behind. A shadow. A replacement. I lived my life, he continued. Years passed, but I always heard it. The tapping. In my dreams. In quiet rooms. His eyes darkened, and then it brought me back. The house groaned above us, reacting to his words. The walls vibrated slightly. There's only one way to break the cycle, he said. But it requires something worse than staying. I asked what. He looked at the hidden wall. You have to let the house starve. The tapping slowed. The silence stretched. And I knew whatever he was about to suggest would cost far more than my freedom. Because the house was listening. And it was hungry. The older version of me lowered his voice, even though no one else was visible. The house feeds on continuation, he said. Fear. Choice. Replacement. As long as someone believes they can leave, the cycle survives. I asked him how he knew all this. He looked away. Because I tried everything else. The tapping resumed, faint but deliberate, like the house was reminding us it was still in control. The walls flexed slightly, breathing in slow, patient motions. To starve it, he continued, you don't run. You don't fight. You don't replace anyone. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. You deny it an ending. The basement lights flickered. For a brief moment, the walls were no longer concrete. They were flesh. Veined. Warm. The house reacted to his words that he explained the truth in broken pieces. Every cycle ended the same way. One person escaped, believing they had won. That belief was the meal. Hope was the fuel. Closure kept the house alive. But if no one leaves, he said, the cycle collapses. I shook my head. That means we both stay. He nodded slowly. Forever, if needed. The tapping grew louder, aggressive now. The hidden wall began to crack, thin lines spreading outward like fractures in bone. The house did not like this conversation. There's a risk, he added. The house will try to force a choice. It will make one of us believe the other has already left. As if on cue, the front door upstairs slammed shut. Heavy footsteps echoed through the ceiling. Someone else was in the house. My heart dropped. The older me grabbed my arm. It's starting again. Another version. Another cycle. The basement door creaked open at the top of the stairs. Light spilled downward, followed by cautious footsteps. A voice called out. My voice. Hello. The house had done this before. It had brought me here once. And now it had brought another. The older me looked at me with something close to fear. If they reach the room, he said, the cycle resets. Stronger. The tapping became frantic. The walls pulsed violently. We had minutes. Maybe seconds. Either we stopped the cycle now, or the house would never starve. And someone else would take our place. The footsteps above us slowed. Each step was careful, hesitant, exactly the way I had walked when I first returned to this house. The sound of it made my stomach twist. I knew what was going through that version of me right now. Confusion. Curiosity. The feeling that something was wrong, but not knowing why. The house creaked in response. 3 slow knocks echoed through the walls. Not from the front door. From inside the house. The older version of me stiffened. That's new, he whispered. The tapping stopped. For the first time since this began, the house went completely silent. No breathing walls. No whispers. No heartbeat beneath the floor. Silence stretched for 3 full seconds. Then the knock came again, closer. The hidden wall cracked open just enough for a thin line of darkness to seep through. I could feel it pulling at me, like gravity shifting its direction. The house was trying to hurry things along. Listen to me, the older me said urgently. It will try to separate us. It always does. A door slammed upstairs. The other me was moving faster now. Panic had set in. I heard my own voice echoed down the stairwell. Is anyone there? The sound of it nearly broke me. The house reacted immediately. The basement lights flickered violently, and the names on the walls began to glow again, carving themselves deeper, faster. It was feeding. We can't let him see the room, I said. The older me shook his head. Too late. The house already marked him. The third knock came from behind us. I turned slowly. The wall itself had formed a shape. Not a door. Not yet. Just the outline of something pressing from the other side, as if someone were trapped inside the concrete, knocking to be let out. A voice came through the wall. Soft. Familiar. Daniel, help me. My chest tightened. That voice wasn't the other me upstairs. It was younger. Terrified. It was me. The house was showing me a memory that hadn't happened yet. The older me grabbed my shoulders. Do not answer it. If you do, the house wins. The knocking grew frantic. Cracks spread across the wall like shattered glass. Upstairs, the basement door began to open. Light spilled down the steps. The cycle was seconds from restarting, and the house was about to force a choice, whether I wanted to or not. Because this time, it wasn't asking. It was knocking back. The moment the basement door opened upstairs, the house changed its tactics. The knocking stopped. The cracks in the wall sealed themselves like wounds closing. The darkness withdrew, retreating into the concrete. The silence that followed felt intentional, staged, like the house was holding its breath. The older version of me whispered, "This is the lie." Footsteps descended the stairs. Slow, careful. I could picture his face without seeing it. The fear, the hope, the belief that someone else was finally here. The lights stabilized. The basement looked normal again. Too normal. The house wanted him calm. He reached the bottom step. I stepped forward before the older me could stop me. For a brief second, our eyes met. He was younger than me by only a few hours, but he looked untouched. No cracks in his voice. No shadows in his eyes. "Are you real?" he asked. I nodded. That was my first mistake. Relief washed over his face. The house responded instantly. The tapping resumed, soft and satisfied, like a predator settling in after a successful hunt. The older me cursed under his breath. The younger version stepped closer. "I found something," he said. "A wall in the basement." It moved. I felt the floor vibrate beneath my feet. The house was guiding him. I tried to warn him, tried to explain, but the words tangled in my throat. The moment I opened my mouth, the house pushed back. My head throbbed violently, my vision blurring. The older me grabbed my arm. "It won't let you save him," he said. "Not like this." The hidden wall behind us began to glow faintly, its outline becoming clearer. The door was forming again. The younger me stared at it, mesmerized. "That wasn't there before," he whispered. The house whispered back. I saw his pupils widen. His breathing quicken, the same way mine had. The lie was perfect. Safety. Answers. An ending. The older me stepped between us. "Don't go in," he said firmly. The younger me hesitated. For a moment, hope flickered. Then the house made its final move. It spoke using my mother's voice. "Daniel." It called gently, echoing through the basement. "Come here." The younger me took a step toward the door. The house had learned something new. It didn't need fear anymore. It had learned how to use love. The sound of my mother's voice shattered something inside me. I saw it happen in the younger version's eyes. The fear drained away, replaced by trust. The house had chosen the perfect weapon. It always did. "Mom," he whispered. The older me moved instantly. He stepped between the younger version and the forming door, spreading his arms wide. "That's not her," he said sharply. "It never is." The house reacted with anger. The walls convulsed violently. The tapping turned into pounding, fast and furious, like fists slamming from every direction at once. The floor cracked open again, but this time it wasn't showing memories. It was showing hunger. I understood then what had to happen. The house could not be starved by hesitation. It could only be starved by certainty. I looked at the older version of me. He already knew. I could see it in his eyes. He gave a slow, almost relieved nod. "This is why I was brought back," he said quietly. "Not to escape, to end it." Before I could stop him, he turned toward the hidden door. The house hesitated. For the first time, it hesitated. The door opened fully, darkness spilling out in thick waves. Whispers screamed in protest, overlapping, desperate. "No," the house seemed to say. "Not like this." The older me stepped inside willingly. The moment he crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut with a sound that shook the entire house. The tapping stopped. Completely. The walls froze mid-pulse. The names carved into the concrete began to fade, one by one, like scars healing. The younger version staggered back, confused. "What just happened?" he asked. The house did not answer. It couldn't. It was starving. Cracks spread through the basement walls, not opening inward, but outward, releasing cold air and dust. The house groaned, long and deep, like something ancient taking its final breath. I grabbed the younger version's arm. "We have to leave. Now." For the first time since I arrived, the front door unlocked itself. Sunlight poured into the house. Real light. Behind us, the hidden wall collapsed inward, sealing the room forever. The house fell silent. And I knew one thing with absolute certainty. It would never replace anyone again. But the cost of breaking the cycle was something I would carry forever. That we stepped outside into the morning light. The air felt different. Lighter. Real. Birds were chirping. And for the first time in days, the world sounded normal. The younger version of me stood on the porch, squinting at the sun as if he had just woken from a long, terrible dream. Behind us, the house looked empty. Not abandoned. Not broken. Just hollow. The younger me asked questions, but I gave him only what he needed to hear. That the house was dangerous. That it was over. That he should never come back. He nodded, still shaken, still confused. I watched him walk down the driveway and disappear at the end of the street. I never followed. Because I knew the truth. The cycle was broken, yes. But something had to remain to make sure it stayed that way. I went back inside alone. The house did not resist. The walls were cold now. Lifeless. The hidden wall in the basement was solid concrete, smooth and unmarked. No door. No outline. No tapping. Weeks passed. I stayed. I repaired what was broken. Cleaned what was damaged. I told myself I was just making sure the house was safe before leaving. But every night, just before sleep, I felt it. A presence. Not hunger. Not anger. Recognition. The house no longer fed. But it remembered. Sometimes I hear footsteps that stop just outside my door. Sometimes I wake up knowing someone is standing in the basement, staring at a wall that will never open. And sometimes, in the quietest moments, when the world is completely still, I hear my name. Not whispered. Not tapped. Spoken calmly. From inside the walls. Daniel Carter. The house knows who saved it. And it knows who stayed behind to make sure it never eats again. If you are still listening to this story, remember one thing. Some houses don't want to be escaped. They want to be watched. And I am still here, waiting, just in case it ever gets hungry again. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.